So as we approach New Year's Day in Hawaii, it would be remiss of me to not talk about fireworks in Hawaii. As someone who was born and raised here, I used to play fireworks all the time growing up. And so I want to share my thoughts on fireworks in Hawaii, especially because it's been banned on Oahu for roughly 13 years. But if you ask anyone who currently lives here, from what you see, you wouldn't really be able to tell. As far as the fireworks ban, I mean, let's face it, it's kind of a joke. I mean, it's a local kind joke that we all love, but essentially it's a joke. I mean, I grew up playing fireworks here in Hawaii. When I was younger, we'd play morning glories and sparklers and pop pops. And as we got older, we moved on to red devils and firecrackers and bigger fountains. And one of my favorites would be those pink little blooms that you would light and throw down on the ground and they would spin, vroom. And then at the end, they would go bang. And playing fireworks in Hawaii was just something that you did growing up with your family. It was something that we accepted as a culture, that this is how we want to celebrate the new year. But thinking back now, it just seems like back then it was more controlled. I'm not talking about how it was legal to play, but just the time that people would play. For me growing up, it seemed very restricted to basically New Year's Eve to maybe New Year's Day, but nothing past lunch. I mean, I still remember my grandpa yelling at us if we played before 6 p.m. on New Year's Eve. I'd be there holding the mosquito punk, ready to go, and my grandpa would say, "Hey, you better knock it off or nobody's playing this year." Now I do understand and I want to acknowledge some of the concerns, specifically the health concerns when it comes to playing fireworks. I know that the smoke is an issue for a lot of people, as well as the noise. I know it scares pets and older people and people with PTSD. And I think that's a big reason why we don't have fireworks anymore. But the way I see it, people have been dealing with it for years. My grandma, who I would say didn't really like the fireworks, she would just go off to the kitchen or certain parts of the home and essentially close all the windows and just stay inside. I know it's not foolproof, but that's the best that she could do. As my parents are getting older, I'm becoming more sympathetic to the concerns of kapuna. But when it comes to fireworks, they cause smoke. That's just how you play with them. But I think what's more of a concern is for those people who have to hear the fireworks going off weeks or months ahead of New Year's Eve. It seems like every year the news reports on how there's seemingly nothing people can do to stop these fireworks. I mean, even laws that allow video recording of these fireworks aren't enough to really stop anyone from doing it. And yeah, I was saddened when the laws were passed. I mean, I loved playing fireworks with my family, but that's what the lawmakers decided. And so we all had to make that adjustment and that shift. But it seems like some people just haven't made that shift yet. They want to continue doing what they've always done. And essentially, I think that's where the discrepancy is occurring. When a society agrees upon a certain fixed set of rules, then everyone knows the rules of the game, knows how to conduct themselves. And for the most part, people do that. And for those who don't, there are punishments, and that punishment serves as not just a deterrent for those people to stop, but also for those who are adhering to those rules. I think it further reinforces that, yeah, what you're not doing is good, keep it up. However, when those rules aren't enforced and the people who seemingly continue to do it seem to get away with it, I think this starts to create, I don't know what this is. It's almost like a bitterness. I'm sure there's a better term for it, but it's almost like this feeling of, well, if they can get away with it, then shoot, I'm gonna do it too. And sure, that attitude is kind of childlike, but that's really what it is. But especially because with fireworks, it affects so many people around you in particular. I think that's why it's a bigger deal. It's not like it's something that you're doing in your home and it doesn't affect anybody outside. When you play fireworks, as beautiful and as fun as they are, you're affecting those around you. So when it comes to rules, the rules are the rules. They're there, and I think we should try our best to adhere to them. And if you don't like the rules, then I think it's time to take a closer look and to consider making changes. And this is why I think we should bring back fireworks, particularly here on Oahu. Sure, we can tax them and get more tax revenue, and law enforcement and call centers won't be bogged down so much by reports going on that night. But more importantly, I think rule changes change expectations. I think it wouldn't get people so upset when people see this stuff happening and it seems like, at least anecdotally, nothing is being done. Because just speaking for myself and what I see here and what we will probably be seeing this year, it seems like firework use, the aerials, has actually been increasing. I mean, this right here, this is my neighborhood. And believe it or not, the other night we saw aerials going off in town. I'm not talking about rural places like Waipahu or Waimanalo. Not that there's anything wrong with Waipahu or Waimanalo. I'm sure there are a lot of law-abiding citizens there. I got cousins and auntie in Waipahu, and well, Waimanalo, they're like our distant cousins in Kaneohe. Now granted, it was a nice little display here in town, very unexpected, and I watched and I was awed by how amazing it looked, but on the flip side, it was kind of dangerous. I mean, we have condos here. I mean, people are living up here at those heights, and if something would have gone wrong, I mean, so when it comes to playing fireworks here, specifically on Oahu, I say let's bring it back. But I think we need to have a stricter time of play. I mean, law enforcement could make sure that that happens, but they can't be everywhere. And so it's gonna really take a lot of community responsibility, community effort to sort of self-police ourselves. And I know it's gonna take personal responsibility. And I know some people don't wanna hear personal responsibility. That's like a bad term. But I think it just comes down to, if you want nice things, you gotta make sure that you take care. Playing fireworks is a privilege, and maybe it took a ban for us to realize it here. When you grow up with something and it's just a part of your culture, it's not a big thing. It's just, I do this is what I do. But when we start believing that playing fireworks is our right, well, that's just called entitlement. And so with that privilege needs to come personal responsibility. I think that essentially, if we all seem to agree that we want to play fireworks, again, I don't know if it's a we, but I think based on what you see and what we allow and tolerate to happen, it seems like fireworks is something that Hawaii continues to want to do. So I think that as a society, as a state, as a community, as a county, I think it's okay to bring it back. And for those people who don't like fireworks, again, I completely understand, but I think by allowing the fireworks but just controlling the times of play, I think it'll make it better for everyone. Sure, during that period of time, during that half a day or so, it's gonna be smoky, it's gonna be loud, but at least it's only during that time. Now, you get people playing all the time. It's uncontrolled. So for me, if I was someone who was against fireworks, I'd rather have some rules than rules that don't really seem to work. And again, that personal responsibility, that community responsibility, we gotta step that up if this is ever gonna happen. Because we're gonna have to be able to police ourselves, that we can go out and enjoy fireworks and just have a wonderful time, but not outside of certain hours, not outside of certain weeks or months even. Just play it when you're supposed to play it, have a great time, and then put it away. Because frankly, I want to play fireworks with my sons on New Year's Eve. I want to teach them, I want them to go have fun. I want to build those memories like I did with my dad, them, and my aunties and uncles and cousins. I mean, I still remember at midnight, right? Everybody goes outside, you got the big firecracker string and you light the bottom and it goes pa, 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 and there's like a pause and then it goes right? And the cool thing is everybody down the street is lining up theirs and lighting at the same time, and afterwards everybody hugs and says Happy New Year's, and then right away bring out the brooms, dustpan, and you start sweeping up that red paper. And so I'd like for us to be able to do that again, collectively, us, to be able to do that again. Of course with my boys, but just future generations. I feel like they missed out on that. And New Year's, for some reason, is a very special time for Hawaii families. 4th of July, not so much, but New Year's, I mean, yeah, we go all out. And I would like to enjoy fireworks again in Hawaii. But I understand that the rules are rules, and I'm gonna listen to those rules. But I do hope we consider changing them, because the current rules, they don't seem to be working, or at least it creates, I think, a lot of confusion and frustration, because not everybody is listening to the rules. Not everybody is playing by the same rules. And I think it really disempowers a lot of local citizens, a lot of local residents who feel like they can't do anything. And that's, to me, a lot more detrimental to our culture here than smoke or noise. It's making people feel like they can't do anything. Because what is the whole point of having these rules and laws if they're not really being enforced? What kind of message is that sending to everybody else who's listening to the rules? And then from that point, I think, well, what other rules do people just disregard because, no need listen, right? Nothing is being done. So I say, let's bring back fireworks again in Hawaii, specifically Oahu here. But let's make sure that we also step up enforcement as well as community and personal responsibility. Because if you want to have nice things, and I think fireworks and playing fireworks is a nice thing, then we've got to take personal responsibility for our actions. We got to come together and enforce some of those things as a community, not just law enforcement, but as a community. We've got to say, hey, knock it off. You can only play during these times. So let me know what you think about fireworks in Hawaii in the comments below. Hope you have a happy new year. Thanks for watching, and aloha.
Hello.